Hello everybody and welcome to another booktube video. Today I am talking about my TBR pile and trying to get it under control. I have said at various points this year and in the past that it's a bit out of control. I have too many books and I want to get better at cutting down on the amount of books that I bring into the house before I read some of the ones that I've got. I've been trying this year to read 2 books off my shelves for every one that I bring on. That was my goal, one of my resolutions at the start of the year, things I was going to aim to do, and that has had mixed success to say the least. I tend to go okay for a while where I don't pick up any books and then pick up several at once, and I also am finishing reading fewer books than I think I am. So I did a few things recently. First of all, I went round my flat here in London and wrote a list of all the books that either are ones that I've got myself, ones that my boyfriend has bought, ones that he's read and recommended to me, books I've received for review, basically any books in this house that I have not yet read and would like to read. I haven't included ebooks in this list because I think they aren't taking up space, so it's a little bit different, and I tend to only buy ebooks when it's a book that I'm interested in but not hugely interested in to the point that I want a physical copy, and also they're not taking up any space. My one exception with this is going to be if they are ebooks that I receive for review, because those obviously need reading by a certain point, so I think it's good for me to keep track of those. So my TBR list for our 1-bedroom flat in London that I've lived in for a little bit over a year is 136 books. That was it at the start of October, which is a crazy amount of books. It's a bit ridiculous, and seeing it all laid out like that has really been good motivation to make me stick to my plans of reading 2 before I add 1. So I am going to get very strict with myself about this. Emma from Drinking by My Shelf, whose channel I will link in the description box, has a feature that she calls Balancing the Books, where she looks each month at how many books she's read or put out versus how many she's brought in. Originally, I think she was aiming to take off 5 each month, and then if she didn't end up with 5 fewer each month than she started out with, she was making herself put 1 out, and she's recently changed that a little bit too, to be less strict on herself. I don't think I'm going to be as extreme as that. I think I'm just going to see how I get on with it to start with and just try and keep myself accountable. I am not aiming to get rid of a certain amount each month. I just need the amount of books that I have brought in to the flat each month or received for review as ebook copies to be half of the amount that I've read. So I'm going to do at the end of each month a little roundup of how I did, my balancing the books as it were, and a quick run through of the books that I've picked up. So it's going to be a kind of book haul combined with balancing the books. So let me start with the books that I received this month. First of all, I borrowed from my friend Jean Spinning Silver by Naomi Novik. I've talked about this one a little bit in my November TBR video, so I'm not going to go into too much detail about it again. This is a fairy tale retelling, I gather, that's slightly like Sleeping Beauty. I followed on from her having written Uprooted a couple of years ago, which I read earlier this year and really enjoyed. So it's Naomi Novik's own twist on this Sleeping Beauty myth, I believe, with some other things thrown in and adjusted, and I'm really looking forward to reading that. The second book that I got this month was It Only Happens in the Movies by Bourne. I requested this from the library a few weeks ago, and I've never read a Bourne book, but my YA reading friend really enjoy Bourne's books, so I wanted to get started somewhere, and this one seemed fun. I've started a couple of chapters of it today actually, and I think it's going to be a fairly quick read, although I am still feeling a little bit of YA contemporary fatigue with this, which I've mentioned before that I don't necessarily love contemporary YA books at the moment, unless I've had a bit of a gap for them. They feel quite repetitive sometimes, so I'm hoping that this will drag me in a bit more as I get further into it, and we'll see how I get on with that. And then the third and final book that I got this month was Pages & Co. Tilly and the Book Wanderers by Anna James. I'm not sure which of those is the title and which is the series. But anyway, I went to the Lush Book Club event earlier this month, and Anna James usually presents that. She's normally in discussion with an author who either has had a book just recently released or is about to have the book released. And this month, this is Anna's own debut novel, so her friend Catherine Webber, whose books I have also read, was doing the hosting, and Lush had some copies of the book available that the publisher had given them. It's about a girl who discovers that she can travel into books, and it's set in a bookshop, and it just sounds really, really lovely. I'm not sure if I'm going to get to this in November, but when I do, I will definitely be talking more about it. So that is 3 books that I picked up, which means that by the new rules, I should have read 6 books. I actually thought that I only read 5, but then I remembered one that I am pretty sure I finished at the beginning of October rather than the end of September. I can't find it to show you, but that one is The Time Machine by H.G. Wells. It's quite a short book. It's a very early sci-fi novel. It was written in the late 1800s. I will talk more about it and all the books that I read in a wrap-up video that I will post on Friday or Saturday this week, but to be brief with that one, I was not massively impressed with it. The second book that I finished reading in October was An Absolutely Remarkable Thing by Hank Green. Really enjoyed this one, and I will be telling you a lot more about that in my wrap-up. Then there was a reread, and that was Sunshine by Robin McKinley. This is one of my absolute favourite books, and I tend to reread it every year or so, and I will also dip into it when I need a book to calm me down and relax me if there's nothing that I'm currently reading that's fitting that gap nicely. I also finished reading American Gods by Neil Gaiman. This is a massive doorstopper of a book that has been sitting looming at me on my bookshelves for the last couple of years, and I was really glad to finally read that because it's been highly recommended to me, and I really want to read more books by Neil Gaiman. I've only read a couple so far, and I found it a really, really enjoyable book. I also read The Way of All Flesh by Ambrose Parry, which was an ebook I got from NetGalley from the publisher Canongate. I will be posting a review of that on my blog very soon, and I will talk more about it in my wrap-up. It is a historical crime novel set in Edinburgh in, I believe, the 1800s, around the time that they were discovering chloroform and other ways to sedate patients for operations, so that was really, really interesting to read. It is the first in a series, and I'm going to be anxiously waiting for more of those. I thought it was really good. The final book to mention from October was Conversations with Friends by Sally Rooney. I don't have that to show you because I had borrowed it from one of my colleagues and I'd given it back to her. I read about 70 pages of that, and I thought that was me having given it a good go. When I have so many things on my bookshelves that I'm really excited to read, I was just not loving that. It is a story about a girl who is 21 or 22. She's just recently finished university, and it's about the exploits of her and her friends and her starting some kind of affair with a married man while she's also becoming friends with the wife, and her best friend also seeming to be interested in starting something with the wife. I'll talk about it a little bit more in my wrap-up, but I thought it was younger people than me making silly decisions, and I just couldn't really be bothered with reading about that, to be honest. They weren't appealing characters, they weren't situations that I needed to read about, so I gave up on that one. So, 3 books in, 6 books out. I've actually done really well with my first month, and I'm quite pleased with that. I haven't decided if I'm going to do any kind of forfeit for myself for if I don't have the matching numbers each month, or if I'll allow myself to carry something over to the following month. We will see how it goes. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you do any kind of balancing the books thing or something like that to keep track of your TBR, I'd love to hear from you. How do you get on with that? If you've got links to videos, leave them in the comments and I will check them out. And let me know what you think of this new video type, and we will see how I get on with sticking to this. I will see you very soon. Bye!